Okay, Claire, fifth and final tip, please.
So, my last one is have a robust culture of retrieval, quoting Adam Boxer again. That is, just because you taught it well, so you were super clear about what you wanted to learn, and you taught it securely, so you checked for understanding, not just in the lesson, but after the lesson. But just because they've learnt it doesn't mean they'll know it in a month's time or 3 months' time or a year's time. And Adam Boxer writes brilliantly about this, so I'm basically channeling Adam Boxer here. But forgetting is completely normal. Forgetting is not some irritating thing that children do to wind us up or because they're feckless or whatever. Forgetting is human. Like when humans learn stuff, they forget it almost immediately. We know that. Like it's a scientific fact that humans forget stuff. So we shouldn't be shocked or disappointed or surprised or disheartened by the fact that what we teach will be forgotten. Like it just will be. That's just normal and human. It's inevitable. So therefore we need to plan to interrupt the forgetting through doing retrieval practice. Now that should be, whether that you do that in a starter or some other way in your lesson, don't think the how. There's a million ways of doing it. I would say that at a secondary school level, that most of your homework should be based on that. Maybe not all, but most of it should be based on that. But you do need to be going over what we learned yesterday, what we learned last week, what we learned last month, what we learned way back when. Let's do some way back when stuff as well. And then again, you're checking for understanding or checking they still understand it. And of course, if they can't remember it, they won't be able to understand it. Or they might remember being able to understand it. And then what you're going to say to me is, what about all the teachers who go, but I don't have time? And this is where we talk about my leaky pipe analogy, okay? So, because human beings are leaky, they are leaky learners. We teach them stuff and it leaks out their brains. So imagine you were told to build a pipe between point A and point B, a pipe to carry water. And you built this pipe and you could see that the pipe was leaking. But you thought, well, I haven't got time to go back and fix the pipe. I don't care about the pipe. I just want to get from A to B. And then you get to A to B and your pipe's, there we are, ta-da, I've done it. I've done my pipe. Oh dear, not much water coming through because so much is leaking out. Whereas somebody else never gets from A to B. They get sort of 2/3 of the way to B, or 3/4. Oops, those are those two numbers. Anyway, they get most of the way, but what they do, the reason why they don't get there is because they do go back and fix the pipe. So actually, they get more water further than somebody who just cracks on. And it's really thinking about themselves and really thinking about looking good rather than actually being good. And rather being good is actually making sure that the learning is revisited and isn't forgotten. Because we're all leaky learners, so don't blame the pipes. Don't blame the pipes for forgetting or for leaking. It's your job to notice the leaking and to do something about it.
I love it. All right, two things I absolutely love straight away here. So firstly, I really like that emphasis that forgetting's normal. I like that. I think that's something that doesn't get emphasised enough between teachers, but also teachers communicating that to kids. So I'm a big fan of that. I absolutely adore this leaky pipe. I'm all over that one. That's a really solid analogy. I really like that. I guess my only follow-up question is, I'm really interested in retrieval opportunities inside and outside of lessons. So I completely agree with you that homework's a really good time to do retrieval. And I've made the mistake for many years in having topic-themed homeworks based on what the kids have just done. And it's fine, but they tend to do quite well on them. And then you think, oh, fantastic, don't have to worry about that again. But I call it this, like the illusion of mastery. You think they've got it, but they've only got it in the moment and so on. So I think moving away from topic-specific homeworks to always, as a minimum, having at least some kind of revision or recap section in each homework is a good idea. But the problem with homeworks, and again, this is a cultural thing, is quite a few kids don't essentially take them all that seriously. Maybe they either don't do them, or they rush them, or they copy, or they just do the questions they can do. So then a lot of teachers think, okay, I know, well, I'm going to shift my retrieval opportunities into the lesson instead. But then, of course, then you're eating up into kind of curriculum time. And it feels to me retrieval should be, in an ideal world, done outside of the lesson because, the teacher can then focus on teaching the new stuff, and if they can collect information in about what kids know and don't know about prior learned stuff, they can address it. But I just think, and I don't know if it's the same in primary, but homework, it feels like the ideal opportunity for retrieval, but it never seems to work as well as it does in theory, if that makes sense.
I think it comes back down to, and I think this is more of a secondary thing, I think that homework in primary is more contentious, and personally, I do think, like in primary schools, it should be about reading every day for sure, and it should be about things like, it should be about retrievals, it should be about number bonds and times tables, and maybe as they get older towards upper key stage 2, it can be some of the other stuff, like some of the other subjects, retrieval practice. I do think, but for secondary, I don't think there's a question about it. It should be. Retrieval practice should be the sort of the mainstay, not of every single piece, but of homework, and it needs a whole school culture that it is taken seriously. But if it's going to be taken seriously, that's a whole school thing, and you need, if you're going to say, right, so the mainstay of our homework is going to be a really robust culture of retrieval. Well, the culture of retrieval is, we're going to have a platform that we're going to use, or platforms that we're going to use. There are going to be consequences if you don't do it. It's going to be checked up on. If you don't do it, that's an issue. But that only works if everyone's doing it. Everybody knows what you're meant to do, and there are genuine consequences for not doing it. I don't know if you know. It sounds like this is a paean to Adam Boxer, which in a way it is. But the platform he uses is Carousel. Not so like maths. There's loads of other things. So I wouldn't. Maths. You've got your Peggotty or Sparks is now, isn't it? And here's your one, and there's what's the other one? What's the other one?
Dr. Frost, yeah.
Dr. Frost, not Dr. Frost. Anyway, there's loads of things out there for that. But, so they're all fine. But what Carousel does really well for other subjects, and again, it wouldn't work for every single subject, but it has. So the kids write, and again, so it's not a maths thing really, but they write. They have to write answers. It's not. It has got some multiple choice, but it's not mainly multiple choice. So they write an answer. So what's photosynthesis? It's plants and sun. They write. Okay, obviously not a very good answer. And then they have to judge for themselves if they. And then it gives them the answer, and they have to see if they've written it correctly or not. And then they think, it's not really correct, is it? It's sort of on the way to being correct. And then they can do it again. And the idea is they will carry on doing it, because they will get given the answer, do the answer, get given the answer, have a go at doing it again. Teacher can see all of that, and then it feeds into the starter for the next lesson. So the starter for the next lesson, it goes into whiteboard mode, and then you can go, well, here's an answer that Craig put up, or you don't even do it anonymously. Somebody put photosynthesis, it's plants and sun and stuff. And we can critique that. Again, go back to our show call. We can critique that. Like, it's on the way to being right, but how can we make that better? And so then kids can see that actually what you're doing for homework, it absolutely is feeding into the lesson. It is absolutely is doing that. So there's a real purpose towards it. It's easy for teachers to set. It's easy for teachers to check. And it's purposeful. So if it's a whole school culture behind it, then I think that whole thing, and I haven't been a secondary school teacher, so, what do I know? Maybe, Claire, you don't understand. But I do know, having talked to schools where they do it well, if you have a whole culture behind it, and, when things don't work, it's because the systems haven't been, it's about going back to being super clear for teachers, making it easy for teachers to set, easy for teachers to check, easy for kids to know, so they don't have. Do you know in some schools you have about 59 different logins? Like if it's maths, it's this login. If it's history, it's this login. It's Google Classroom for this. It's Sparks for this. It's, I don't know. Well, what's another one? I don't know.
Century or something like that.
Quizlet, something else. And
yeah.
You need that's all your brain power worked out just to work out which blooming platform you're on. Make it easy. Like keep it super clear, super easy. Parents can check, parents can check, teachers can check, kids can, they have to go, I didn't have my login. Like Carousel, you don't even need a login. So, make it easy.